The Champions League knockout stages are about to start, and for the first time ever, we will see it in this new Champions League format. But of course, the question is who is going through and who will be leaving the highest tournament in Europe. That's the question, and in this video, guys, I will be doing my predictions because we got 8 incredible games, and I just want to give you my thoughts on who I personally think will proceed into the next round. So without talking too much, let's get right into it. We are on the official UEFA site where they have the bracket. Unfortunately, we cannot pick the teams that go through, but I do still think that this is a great way to show you guys and just talk about each games. The first game we are going to talk about is, of course, Brest against Paris Saint-Germain, which is a fully French affair, which is, in my opinion, a bit tough to see because you don't want to face a team from your own country, especially in the Champions League or the Europa League or even the Conference League, because you want your country to do as well as possible. So the fact that 2 French teams are facing each other, in my opinion, I don't like that too much, but it is what it is. Now, for this fixture, we all know that Brest have been a big surprise. They played, I want to say, a little bit weirdly sometimes, and they've managed to get some cheeky results here and there. I've seen them in real life when they faced Shakhtar in the Champions League, where they lost. I think it was 2-0 or 3-0. I'm not exactly too sure what that score was, but I think it was either 2-0 or 3-0. And I have to say, they didn't look too great there, and that's probably because of the amount of games that that the players have to play this season in the league, and then midweek again, and then in the league again midweek, which is probably very tough, especially if you are not used to it. And when we go over to Paris Saint-Germain, who, especially in the last, I want to say month and a half, have been doing absolutely incredible. Dembele is in form, Barcola is doing amazing, their midfield is really good, and they've just picked up Kvicha Kvaratskhelia in the January transfer window as well, which is absolutely insane, which means the Paris Saint-Germain front 3 is going to be even better. The fact that Ousmane Dembele is scoring back-to-back hat-tricks is saying a lot as well, and for me this is a very easy choice. Paris Saint-Germain is going to go through in this fixture, and I don't even think Brest will give them a fight. I think this will be a very high and big score because we've seen them in the league, I think last week or 2 weeks ago, where PSG beat Brest away from home as well to 5-2. So I think the exact same will happen, and Paris Saint-Germain will win in both legs very comfortably. Then, moving on to the second fixture of this knockout phase playoffs, where you have Club Brugge against Atalanta. And Club Brugge were on a 20-game unbeaten streak until they faced Manchester City in Champions League game week 8. And of course, losing to Manchester City is pretty normal. It is okay, especially for a team like Club Brugge. But I do still think they can give Atalanta a fight, because the players like Hans van Aken, who's really good, really underrated in my opinion as well. The Greek left winger Tsolis is in form as well, and they have some nice midfielders like Onyedika and Yashari, who have shown their talent many times. The only unlucky thing here for Club Brugge is the fact that they've just sold Skov Olsen, which was their best player in my opinion on the right wing, and he really had something about him, but unfortunately he is not there anymore. On the other side, though, we got Atalanta, who are doing incredibly well in the Serie A and are even fighting for the Scudetto, which is absolutely incredible from Gasperini's team. They have a very fun team with Lookman, Retegui, De Roon, Emerson, a lot of great quality, Scalvini in the back even, and they've shown, especially in this Champions League league phase, that they are capable of playing against the best. They lost 3-2 against Real Madrid. Could have been 3-3 if Retegui scores that last minute chance. They drew 2-2 against Barcelona, and in general Atalanta are a very tough team to beat. And I want to say, I can see the first fixture in Bruges ending in like a 1-1, 2-2 maybe, but I think in Italy Atalanta will blast over Club Brugge and eventually move on in the Champions League. So I'm going to go for Atalanta to win against Club Brugge. So we have Paris win against Brest and Atalanta win against Club Brugge. Then moving on to the biggest game of this Champions League knockout phase, where we have Manchester City facing off against Real Madrid. And as a Liverpool fan, as you guys can see, I I think this is a very, very easy choice for me. Real Madrid are going through. Manchester City are probably in their worst season ever right now. That's exactly why they spent, I think it was like 220 million in the January window. They picked up players like Marmoush, Husanov, the midfielder from Porto, Nico. But I don't think it's good enough yet for this Manchester City team. I don't think they will have a massive impact on this season. They are all players for the future, so I don't think Manchester City stand a chance against Real Madrid, who aren't the best either this year. A little bit inconsistent maybe, and of course they are missing a lot of defenders. Rudiger is not there. I think Alaba is back, but I'm not sure if he's fit to play. I think I read somewhere that they only have 2 fit centre backs, which is not something you want as Real Madrid. But I do think their striking force, their midfield, is good enough to beat this Manchester City team, who are conceding loads and loads of goals. So for me, Real Madrid are going through against Manchester City. Then another very, very tough fixture in my opinion, where we have Juventus against PSV, which is a little bit of a 50-50 because both teams at the moment are not in the greatest form. PSV have only won 1 game in the league in the last from the last 6, I'm pretty sure, and Juventus are doing decent in Serie A. But they are just drawing and drawing and drawing. In the Champions League as well, their last match was against Benfica, where they lost 2-0, and at home they just didn't show enough quality, which could be a problem in here as well. And I do think PSV will give it their all to try and go through in here. So I think this will be a very, very tough matchup to predict. I think it can go both ways. PSV at home with the fans behind them could be amazing as well. Whereas Juventus at home as well can be phenomenal as well, atmosphere-wise. So I think it's gonna be interesting, but I'm gonna lean more into Juventus. I think Juventus, especially now with Randal Kolo Muani, who has been off to a flyer since he joined them, is gonna carry them into the next round. With Kenan Yildiz on the right as well. So I'm gonna go with Juventus to go through in here, but definitely PSV do have a chance, so it's going to be interesting, but I want to go with Juventus. So we are now halfway through the video, where we have Paris, in my opinion, beating Brest, Atalanta going through against Club Brugge, Real beating the hell out of Manchester City, and then Juventus to go through against PSV. If you guys want to see more football content, then make sure to subscribe to this channel, which is R2S Offside, but also check out our main channel, R2S Football, where we upload some big videos. Now, let's move on to the second part of this video, where we have still 4 more games to predict, and from one tough game to the other, we have Monaco against Benfica. And this is a tough one, you know. This might be the hardest game to predict from this playoff round, or like from this knockout phase round, because Monaco have shown their qualities as well. They beat Barcelona 3-0 in the league. They're doing amazing, but they are a little bit inconsistent. One game they can turn up like prime Real Madrid, and the other game they are looking like Celta de Vigo. So it's gonna be hard. Same for Benfica, who are a little bit more consistent, of course playing in a worse league in Portugal, but still in the Champions League they've proven themselves. They've gotten some nice results. A nice game against Barcelona, which they unfortunately lost 5-4, but they've shown their quality with the likes of Di Maria, Aktürkoğlu, Pavlidis, Kuksu. They have a good team. So this one is, in my opinion, as well 50-50. But I'm leaning a little bit more towards Benfica. And I think that's purely because they know how to score. I know they concede a lot, but Trubin in net, in my opinion, is a very, very good goalkeeper. I do think Benfica is capable of scoring at least 1 or 2 goals every single game, depending on... I don't think it matters if it's away or at home. They can score goals left, right and center. So I want to lean more into Benfica. But I think Monaco could be a surprise in here as well, and maybe slide through there. But it is very, very hard to predict this one. But I'm gonna go with Benfica to go through. Then we are on to 2 struggling teams. We got Sporting and Dortmund. Sporting, who have been really, really bad since Amorim left them for Manchester United. They had a phenomenal lead in the league, but they've blew that already. Gyökeres is injured as well, so it's going to be tough for Sporting. And Dortmund on the other side are not doing much better. I think they are 11th or 12th in the Bundesliga. They've just sacked Nuri Sahin, new coaches in. and the first game they lost as well against Stuttgart at home. So they're struggling. Dortmund are really, really struggling, and I do still think that because of that reason, Sporting actually has a chance. But then on the other hand, the second game is in Dortmund, where we know the yellow wall can give that extra spirit, some extra boost to that Dortmund team. So I want to say, especially on a Champions League night, that probably Sporting will win the first game at home, like 2-1, or it will be a draw 1-1-ish, and then the second game, the second fixture, the return fixture for Sporting in Dortmund, Dortmund will probably blast over them with a 3-0, 3-1 win, and I do think Dortmund are going through in this fixture, but it will be very, very hard. Then, on to probably a very, very easy fixture, with all the respect to Celtic, who of course have brought back their Portuguese goat Jota. They lost Furuhashi, and they do have a fun team with Hatate, Scales, Carter Vickers, Johnston, Maeda even. But just against this company's Bayern München, who have been looking like a machine lately, Celtic stand no chance, unfortunately. Olise, Kane, Musiala, Kimmich, we all know the drill. They will probably beat the hell out of Celtic. Celtic lost 7-1 to Dortmund in the league phase already, and against Bayern, who are even better than Dortmund, this could potentially be, maybe over 2 games, a 10-1, a 10-2 type of game, because Bayern München know how to score. Harry Kane is in form. They're first in the league, and Kane might be looking, or might be getting his first ever trophy in his career if Bayern managed to keep this up in the league as well. And I do think in the Champions League, Celtic stand no chance. So Bayern München are going through in this game as well. Then on to the last game of the knockout phase players, where we have Feyenoord against AC Milan. And Feyenoord have just sold their main striker Santiago Jimenez for 35 million to, funnily enough, AC Milan. So they're now without a quality striker. They have a decent team, but they have loads and loads of injuries at the moment. So Feyenoord is going to be tough. Whereas AC Milan, under the new coach Conceição, with Reinders, Theo Hernandez, Jimenez, Leao, Abraham, Pulisic, Mike Maignan, are finally looking a little bit more lively. It looks like something is actually there and is growing. So for this fixture, I want to go with AC Milan to go through. I do still think Feyenoord has a chance, but the fact that the return is in Italy, I think for Feyenoord it will be really, really hard if they don't get a result at home. But you never know what can happen in the Champions League. But my vote, or like my prediction, would be going to AC Milan. So now 48 games, we have Paris Saint-Germain to go through, Atalanta to go through, Real to go through, Juventus to go through, Benfica, Dortmund, Bayern, and then lastly AC Milan to go through in this Champions League campaign. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this prediction. This was just the first video of many to come on R2S Offside, so make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and let me know in the comments who you think will be proceeding into the next Champions League phase. And with that being said, guys, I will see you guys very, very soon. Peace.